You are listening to Productivity Straight Talk with your host, Amber De La Garza. Amber is a sought-after productivity coach, trainer, speaker, and writer who gives entrepreneurs the straight talk on personal productivity. No BS fluff or overused jargon. Just actionable strategies to get results and succeed in business. And here is your host, Amber De La Garza, the productivity specialist.
Welcome, and thank you for listening to Productivity Straight Talk. Today is episode 193, Flirting with the Concept That Support is Sexy, with Elayne Fluker. Elayne is the author of the new book, Get Over, I Got It, HarperCollins Leadership, where she encourages unapologetically ambitious women to learn how to embrace support not only for their success, but also for their peace of mind. Elayne is the host of the Support is Sexy podcast, featuring interviews with more than 500 diverse women entrepreneurs around the world. And she is the founder of SiS.Academy, an online learning platform educating and empowering Black women entrepreneurs. Most recently, Elayne was named a founder of change for SiS.Academy as part of the American Express 100 for 100 program, featuring 100 innovative Black women entrepreneurs. It was such a treat to have Elayne on the podcast, and you get to listen in on my conversation with her. I was over the moon excited about the topic of support is sexy because, as you know, here at Productivity Straight Talk, I tell you, this is not a one-woman or one-man show. We truly cannot achieve all that we desire and our big dreams alone. And the conversation with Elayne went in many different directions under the topic of how support can really be, well, supportive, and some of the mindsets that get us in the way of really accepting and asking for support in our businesses and life. I also share some behind the scenes of mindsets that I had to overcome personally and my journey with asking for help, where I was challenged with asking for help, and how I actually overcame that to eventually build a team, not just in my business, but my personal life, that really allows me to show up my best. All right, before we jump into this conversation, I want to make sure that you have gotten your hands on my free mini training, Take Back Your Time. If you've ever whispered to yourself, I wish I had more time, there's never enough time, then this mini training is a do not miss. So get your hands on it by going to amberdelagarza.com/take back your time. In this mini training, my promise is that I will show you how to reclaim 30 minutes each and every day. That's right, 30 minutes each and every day. Can you just imagine what you would do with that time? Well, I bet you have a lot of plans for that extra time, so let this be my gift to you. Head on over to amberdelagarza.com/take back your time. And now, let's meet our guest and get to the straight talk. Welcome, Elayne, to Productivity Straight Talk. How are you today?
I'm great, Amber. Thank you so much for having me.
Absolutely. I'm really looking forward to our conversation today. And before we do, I would love my audience to hear a bit about you in your own words. And if you can share a little bit of your story about why am I talking to you about why support is sexy?
Oh my goodness. Well, first of all, thank you again for having me. I'm glad to be here to talk about this to your audience, especially, I think the men too, but especially the ambitious women in your audience. I think a lot of us, as I say, unapologetically ambitious women, feel like we need to have all the answers, right? We get paid the big bucks because we have the answers. That's why we have the jobs and the things. And even as moms, you got to have the answers, and running a business, you need to have the answers. I want you to remember that support is sexy. It's not all on you. There are reasons women often feel like they have to have the answers also because, we still get paid less than men in the United States. And there's still some people who think if you ask for help, it shows that it proves somehow that you're incompetent or weak. But that's not the message here. Support is sexy. So that's a phrase that I adapted in 2015 or so after attending a workshop called Momentum. in New York. And I got to see, Amber, and some of the people in the room, powerful people, leaders, captains in their industry, New Yorkers. So there's that, New Yorkers. So people who are really driven, and see how much they and myself struggle to ask for two things, I always say, love and support. And when I say struggle, I mean like boohoo crying, don't make me do it kind of struggle. So that's when after that program, wanted to keep that in my life. I came up with this phrase, support is sexy. I'm going to say that to myself, and it makes me embrace support in a different way. So not sexual, sexy, like a sexy vacation, if we remember those, or a sexy apartment, or certainly a sexy dress, or something that makes you feel good to get up close to it. So this idea of support is sexy is where that comes from.
Excellent. What type of support are you talking about? Because I think that people could assume you're only talking about hiring in your business, but I believe your work goes further than that.
Oh, absolutely. Support can, if you're open to it, show up in all areas of your life. And I want to make sure too that your audience knows that when we're talking about this, we're talking about support, not a savior. And I think that's sometimes what some of us get caught up on, this idea of, I can do it myself. In fact, I think there's 3 reasons most of us actually push back against our own selves with asking for support. And it's the 3 Ds. So we either feel defiant, defensive, or defeated. So defiant being someone asks you, oh, can I help you? Can I support you? Can I help you with this project? Can I help you in your business? Whether it's someone on your team or someone from the outside, and you're thinking, oh no, I'm the CEO. I got it, right? I got it syndrome is what I call it. I got it. No, I got it. I got it. Or you're defensive. So say you have, as I mentioned earlier, you might have reasons that you're feeling like, oh no, someone's asking me if I need support. They don't think that I can do this on my own. And then the other is we feel defeated sometimes because maybe you're the one who always does get it. Right? You're thinking, I'm the one that always does this for the family. I'm the one that always takes extra work on at work. I'm the one that's doing it all alone in my business. So I guess I got it. So we all kind of get caught up in this cycle of getting it ourselves and doing it ourselves in different areas of our life. So again, that's whether you're that go-to person in your family, or it's something in your business, or something that you're doing, that you're creating, or something you want to experience. You'd be surprised, and this is what I found and others have found, you'd be surprised how much support is available for you in abundance if you just pause for a minute and be open to it.
Yes. I'm thinking as you're speaking, my own evolution and the work that I had to do internally to be okay with asking for help. Mm-hmm. And I've shared a bit about this in the podcast previously, but it's perfectly aligned with today's topic. I have no problem paying for help. I have no problem asking for help in my business. Asking for help in my personal life, that's where I personally had a lot of resistance. And that's where I had to do the work of, why can't I run the whole house, do all the things, and run a successful business? And I held on to not asking for help far too long. And now I ask for all types of help and lots of it. But I did that. And for me, it was a lot about, and I'm sure you hear this frequently, but for me, I had identified how I loved the people in my life by serving them. As a woman, my love language, not as a woman, but my love language is acts of service. So I acts of service everybody around me, because that's how I showed love, even though that wasn't their love language. Mm-hmm. And when I had to ask for help or say, like, put my hand up and say, I just can't do that, or I can't do all those things, that's when I felt like, no, then we tell those stories of I should be able to, and I should want to like run this business and do these things. So my question to you is, do you find that to be common, or is that unusual that interpersonal versus professional is different?
Oh my goodness. It's so intertwined. I mean, especially for a lot of us as entrepreneurs, but I think anyone listening in all, our lives just sort of blend into each other. So especially now that we all work from home and have, phones and all these other connections. So we're all just connected in all these different ways that we weren't, generations ago, for sure. But absolutely, I think what you said is common. And even in acts of kindness, or acts of service or acts of kindness? Acts of service. Yeah. It's not acts of sacrifice, right? So sometimes we're sacrificing ourselves in order to feel like we're being of service to someone. Of course, there are maybe times when you need to sacrifice something, but we can get caught up in this sort of martyrdom of, oh my goodness, I have to show my love for this this person by going above, beyond, above, beyond for them. And like you said, that's not even their love language. They'd like you to just give them a hug, right?
Exactly.
Safe hug, right? Give them a hug. So yes, absolutely. I definitely don't believe that you're alone in that. A lot of us in different ways are doing things to, and maybe to you, that feels like a form of support for you, being able to serve others. I know I say that because I feel like that for me. Serving others is a way that I support myself as far as how I feel and feeling good. But I have to be aware of the boundaries and also of being able to ask for support for myself, because a lot of us just forget that we deserve it. That's the thing too. You know intellectually that you do, but whether it's asking at work because of your own reasons, or you don't want to quote unquote bother anybody, right? You don't want anyone to feel burdened with your needs. And most of the time people are just waiting to help you, right? Or they'd be happy, if not waiting, they'd certainly be happy to help you or figure it out. And help doesn't look like even I necessarily ask you, Amber, can you do this for me? And then you do something for me. It might be something like me saying, hey, I'm working on this project. I'm stuck at this point. I'm not really sure what to do, but this is what I've done so far. And then even if you don't know the answer, you might be like, oh, okay, I know someone who's done that. Oh, I'll keep that in mind, or I'll share that with someone. Or you might say nothing and you might hear from someone later that can help me with whatever that problem is. So again, help can look a lot of different ways. And I always say, let go of the how. Right? Sometimes we think I'm going to ask for this and this is how I'm going to get the support, or this is where the way the support is going to come to me, or from whom the support is going to come. It rarely comes from the person you think, but you have to be open. And that's how it shows up for us in all the different ways.
Yes. Well, can you share with us in ways in which we can move from someone that says, I feel uncomfortable asking for help. I don't know how to ask for help. Can you give us some tips around moving from that mindset to really embracing it? Because you have a podcast too. So we know our listeners right now are saying, yes, I need help. But that's not enough. They can't just agree with us.
Right.
We have to take action, and that may feel scary and it may feel uncomfortable, and it might be having some conversations that feel uncomfortable. But what would you recommend to help them move from where they're at, feeling like they doing it all themselves, to asking for help?
Absolutely. So I wrote a whole book about this idea of getting over, quote unquote, I got it. So I call it I got it syndrome, as I mentioned some earlier. So anytime someone asks some of us for if they can support us, right? If they can show up for us in whatever kind of way, our first reaction as ambitious women or women who are doing our thing, I got it. Or a mom, I got it. It's okay, I got it. No, I got it. I mean, everything from the person at the grocery store who is there to help you to your car with your groceries. No, I got it. This is literally their job. I got it. Or someone, again, in the office, or your colleague, or someone in your business who's there to help you. No, I got it. It's okay, I got it. And we're not even aware that we're doing this. So I think first, raising your level of awareness around how many times you turn support away, which, to get woo-woo for a minute, Amber, I believe the universe is trying to show up to you and you're saying, no, I got it, right?
Yeah, so just shutting it down.
You're shutting it down. You're not even thinking about it. So what I like to tell people is think about the word help, right? HELP. So I have an acronym for help when you're trying to figure out, to answer your question, how can I move from this I got it syndrome space to this other space of being open to support. So the H is remembering that having it all doesn't mean doing it all alone, right? You're not supposed to be doing it all by yourself, and all looks different for all of us. So it's important to define your all for yourself, which is a giveaway I can mention for your audience. But you define what your all looks like. But even that, having it all doesn't mean doing it all alone. So that's the first thing to remember. The second thing is to make empowered asks. So again, you're asking for support, not a savior. So the support, as I mentioned, can look like, this is what I'm working on. This is what I've done so far. If you know anyone who can help me, or didn't you work on this thing before, or do you know about this, or you're just sharing in general, this is what I'm working on, and I'm being open to how the answer might show up for me, making the empowered ask of what you're looking for. You're not asking from a place of weakness. You're asking from a place of strength. The L is let go of the how and live the question. So let go of the how we talked about earlier. Live the question is something I learned from this woman, Patricia Moreno, who was on episode, I want to say 21 of the Support is Sexy podcast. And I've done 700 something episodes now. So that tells you I have no favorites, Amber. I'm just saying.
Yes,
she's someone
right?
I remember, right? It's like, this changed my life, this idea of living the question. So as we started this conversation, I talked about a lot of us just feel like we need to have the answers. I mean, I learned from my coach over time that I'm a person like, just tell me what to do and I can do it. Just tell me. But sometimes the answer doesn't show up like that. So we have to become comfortable with living the question, being open to the question. I'll share with you all. Don't tell anybody, okay? Don't tell anybody. My question right now is, I want a family. I want to create a family. I'm a woman in my 40s. What does that look like for me? Is it marrying someone who has children already? Is it, I froze my eggs when I'm 39. Is it that? I'm sharing all my business here. But this is the question I'm living. Unless you know the answer, Amber, I don't know.
I don't know for that one for you.
Exactly. This is support. We're living this question right now, but I'm being open to how that shows up. And of course, still taking action and dating and all those things, but just being open to whatever that answer is and living the question. And that takes courage and time to do that. And the P is believing in the possibilities. So again, for me with family, I believe it's possible. I know it's going to happen. I have faith it's going to happen. But if I were of the mindset of, I'm never going to find anyone, it's never going to work. If I weren't the kind of person to tell all my married friends, tell your husband to introduce me to some good friends, because I'm open to the possibilities, if I just, don't do that. I don't know. No, we have to think about, are you being open to the possibilities? You don't have the answer, but just knowing that it'll come when it's supposed to come. So HELP.
Oh, that is so great. Thank you so much for sharing that. I was over here shaking my head. Yes. We have our video off right now, but I was just taking that all in. That is really, really great.
Excellent.
I am curious about what type of support you ask for. So you've been open already. So I have a feeling this is not going to be an off question. But what type of support do you find is valuable in your success and your goals and your growth?
What has been, in addition to that workshop in 2015, Momentum, but what has been a game changer for me in the past going on 4 years, 2017, is having a coach. So I have a business coach. She's like a business therapist. Margot Geller is her name, here in Decatur, Georgia. But she, as you know, entrepreneurship, I always say it's the greatest lesson in personal development that you'll ever go through, right? Launching a business.
Absolutely.
Oh my goodness. We could talk a whole other episode about that, right? But I just realized that after a while that I needed someone to talk through just the emotional parts of the business, or the emotional parts of me, I guess, and how it affected the business. And then the business things too. Sometimes we just have conversations about that. I just saw her before getting on this call with you earlier today, socially distanced with my mask on, because she's in her 60s. But we talked about the dating part of it and how do I balance it? How do I create time for that? So I have those conversations with her as a coach. And I talk to my girlfriends and things about that too. But because she is a coach, she's seen this so many times, right? She's been a therapist and a counselor and a coach for so many years. Just that insight from someone who can, not even just objective, because she does, care about me now, we have a relationship, but just she has a bigger picture and can give me feedback based on what she's seen work, what hasn't worked, and just another way for me to tap into support from someone. And that has been a total, we've been through a lot in the past few years, ups and downs, as far as my own ups and downs, not hers.
I agree. I have a coach too.
Yes.
I have a coach too.
And most coaches have coaches.
I have a very strong opinion about that. I think every coach should have a coach.
That's right. Right.
It's really believing in the work and the magic of it. And I do think that we will go through seasons, like as my business change, my goals change, my needs change, my coaches change, right? Mm-hmm. I'm always looking for a coach that fits exactly what I'm focusing on and working on improving. But I think that coaching is, like, I believe in it. I'm a coach as well, but it's just so valuable to have someone that is non-emotional. They're not attached to any stories. They can ask you very pointed questions and give you the space to explore and the accountability to keep showing up to explore. Like, not just like, it got hard, I'll get back to this in 2 months. It's that rapid pace that you get from consistently showing up and talking about the thing you want to work on with your coach.
And I think you make such a not even valid, isn't even the right word, an important point about different coaches for different stages of your journey. So sometimes with going back to support, people might think, I had a coach for 2 years and now I'm done and that's over and I'm moving on, or I don't need anybody right now. And even that, you might go through periods, coaches, therapy, et cetera, where you're off and on. But for me, I just went through that recently I have my coach, Margot, who I see every week. And I just spoke to a gentleman today who's a part of an organization that I'm going to talk to every month. He's also a business coach though, but it's very focused on what productivity actually. It's very focused on what should I focus on? I have all these great things coming at me, but entrepreneurs are like squirrel, squirrel, squirrel. I'm all over the place. So I need to focus, but I'm happy to work with him for the next year, maybe longer, but we have a schedule for the next year. This is what we're going to work on this quarter. This is going to we'll work on this quarter. And it's because my business is growing. I'm at the point where I'm becoming the bottleneck in some parts of my business. So I got to figure that out with team, but it's because I'm at this stage. He wouldn't have been the right coach for me even a year and a half ago,
Right.
But now I'm at this stage. So I think that's important for folks to remember too. Again, the support is going to look different depending on where you are, but being open to it. Even this coach that I'm working with a company called SLAP, SLAP, Silver Lining Action Plan. But with this company, I was in that space of really need to find another kind of coach. Margot is great. I'm going to talk to her probably forever till she will stop seeing me. But I need another, another kind of this part of where I am in my journey, someone to really talk numbers with me. And then this came up. So being open to it, possibilities.
Being open to it. So I don't want to cut you off if you want to share any other type of support too, but then
that's been the biggest one
support
for me. Yeah.
Is being open to it is that when we hire on our team, we think we have an opening and needs to be filled now, and it just happens. I have found that if you're patient and you're open to it, or you think you kind of know what you want and you start talking to people about it, I have found that is like the best way to fill the role.
Such a great example.
Right? It's like you have to be open to the possibility, and maybe you sit on it for a little bit.
Yes.
But this is where I always jokingly kind of laugh at my clients is they'll say, I haven't found anybody. It's been 2 weeks. And I'm like, I'm sorry. Did the stars not perfectly align with the exact right person that's going to blow your mind and help your business in 2 weeks? Like, what are we thinking here? And I'm like, do you realize how much would happen? And then I just say, well, maybe they haven't been laid off their other job yet. Maybe you just have to wait another week and they'll be right there and ready for you. But just being open to it and patient and not pushing the process and settling, that's another thing. We like to settle when we hire. Like, oh, I don't know, it's been 2 weeks. I'll just pick the best that I have. No, figure out who you need and don't lower those standards and be open to what's possible.
And give yourself time to live that question. That's another great example because I'm going through the same thing with my business with looking at, as I mentioned, bringing on people. So right now I have part of my business is a content agency and creating content for thought leaders, and whether that's articles and other kinds of content on social media or their own platforms. And again, I feel like I'm becoming the bottleneck because, in the beginning, you're doing it all yourself. Now I'm like, I need to bring on people for this. So now I'm feeling like I need a managing editor, a content person, just like you told your clients. Maybe that person hasn't left their position yet. I've been telling people though, I think this is what so I don't even know the full answer, as we talked about in the beginning, right? I don't know, this is what I'm looking for. This is a job description. I need them in 2 weeks. I'm like, this is what I feel like my business needs right now. And then asking, the right people, coaches and all that. What do you think? How could this look? Asking other people how they found folks. So I think that's great advice that you're giving and we can get kind of antsy too if we really, really need the person, but still it's better to wait, because once you hire someone and onboard them and then you're like, why did I rush and hire this person? They don't need to be here. They don't want to be here. I don't want them here. It's a whole big thing. It's just like if I had just waited, like Amber said.
Exactly. There's something that I say that now we've just touched on the two areas. I say, if I look back at the growth of my business, you have big growth and you have, where you're a bit steady. And every time I've hired a great hire, that's the caveat, a great hire, business. Tremendous growth and expansion. And then the second reason would be a new coach or the right coach. Those are the two supports. And out of everything, you didn't hear me say Facebook ads or marketing or that speaking event or all the things that we focus on growing our businesses. I can tie back every big leap in my business to a coach and a good hire.
I am going to look at my business like that. That is very good to look back and see, because I do feel like ever since hiring just even a virtual assistant, someone to take over your calendar, you don't bother it anymore. Now I have someone to refer people to if I need to say no. That has changed my life. Yeah. And it has opened me up to be able to do other things in my business. You are so right. Expand. Yes, expand. Absolutely.
That's great. I was going to share with you some of my thoughts too that I have just come up with around support. And I was someone that wore it as a badge of honor. I mean, I did everything. Like this was my identity. So for me, I had to work on how I saw myself. And there's two identities that I worked on, prioritizing over the person that could do everything herself. One was being a good leader. That let me prioritize how I showed up to support my team so they could support me. And then the second identity I had was being a really good friend. And me being a really good friend allows me to support others and pour into them. And it's like a bank account that I just keep putting into it and putting into it. I enjoy it. I enjoy the relationships. But when I need something, or I'm having a bad day, or I need to bounce off a client issue, or the topics are endless, I have my people that I can go to and pull out of that investment and then get moved through that with that support quicker and faster.
I love that. Absolutely.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And so, all right. So we talked about the support from a coach and from your team and particularly friends. What are some areas in which you believe a business owner particularly gets stuck in asking for support? Now, I know you gave us your D's and things like that, but what are the most common areas in which they're like, I know I need support, and they get stuck? Is it mindset? Is it strategy? Is it not having the right person?
I think some of it's mindset, but I think for a lot of us, it ends up being the area that you and I have talked about some, when it's time, when you're growing and when it's time to bring in support. And sometimes we think, like, for even, again, at the level of virtual assistant, or I have also my virtual assistant, Courtney, who's fantastic. And Sarah is another young lady who works with me, who's my content coordinator, I call her. So getting all the content and things up. But bringing on those people, there was a lot of, obviously there's considerations that you need to make, financially and that kind of thing. But a lot of times we wait almost too long to bring on support, whatever that looks like, instead of thinking, sometimes we say, oh, it has to be a full-time person, or I have to bring someone on as a full-time employee. Well, nowadays, that's, hopefully you all know that's not true. It's like, maybe I could bring someone on for 5 hours a week. Maybe there's someone who's working from home or who just lost their position. Like you said, maybe they've been laid off now and they have a few hours and they can help me. In other words, it can look a lot of different ways. But I think some of us hold back because we have this certain, as business owners, hold back because we have this certain vision of what our assistant is supposed to look like, or our team overall is supposed to look like, or we're thinking that we have to get the huge position. Like, I need a project manager for $80,000 a year. Well, do you really? And then you're holding yourself back from getting someone who could actually help you. So I find with business owners, a lot of the women that I work with as coaching clients, it's usually because they think they have to wait until they can have this huge position available, or they're making this huge amount of money, or all these reasons to wait, when it's really, let's focus and see, what do you really need right now? Is there a way with what you're doing currently that you could get some support? And how, as you mentioned, how will that support actually help you grow your business? So for me, I was nervous in the beginning. Oh, I'm going to bring on somebody. Will I be able to keep them? Well, also that's a reason to get someone as a contractor, because you can end it when you need to with some notice, of course. But still, I had to think about it. This is how much I have. And I told the person, this is how much I have. And now we have increased her hours. But it helps you just get started. And then once you're able to see how much, and if you have the right person, how much it'll free you and allow you to do some other things and to bring in more clients or whatever else you need to do for your business, that's actually all I think about now. How can I bring on more people? It's like I used to just think about, how can I do all this? I'm like, how can I get help? That's the conversation I had with the gentleman I talked to today. This is what I'm thinking about. I want to bring on someone to manage this whole content part of the business, but you think like that now. How much do I need to make to do that? It's just sort of a reverse way of thinking about it, as opposed to, I just need to wait. I just need to wait. So I think as entrepreneurs, I hope you all will remember and consider, think about what kind of support you need. Well, call Amber to get some coaching. But think about what kind of support you need, and let me know what your process is, Amber. And then, your finances, how much you're making, that kind of thing. And then what can you do? Not, I can't do a full-time position, or I can't hire this person for 8. Well, what can you do right now? And then, like you said, who is that person, being open to that, and just experiment with it.
Yes. Many of my listeners are not online business owners. They're real service, like interior designers and realtors and attorneys and the just mainstream business owners. And I say that because this online world is it's just not it's our own bubble. So when we throw out words like a VA, I actually did an episode that I said something like finding your next right VA. And I had someone email me saying, great episode. I have no idea what VA means. You just kept saying VA. And it was a reminder that I was in my own bubble, right? And so now when I talk to my clients, it is mind-blowing every time when I tell them, you can hire somebody for 5 hours a week, 3 hours a week in a particular specialty that is your weak spot. You can hire for your weakness. And it opens up so much opportunity and makes you think even bigger and start asking those questions like you, where you're like, okay, well, who's the next person and how can I get more help? Because it's not commonly thought that way, even now in mainstream business, to hire based on an expertise for just minimal hours.
And speaking of that, I actually just found out about a source. This isn't necessarily an endorsement, but I did talk to them and they seemed great. But another business owner that I know told me that she did this. There is a company called, I think it's Acadium. I can send you the link after this if you want to link to it. But I believe it's called Acadium. And what they do is they assign an apprentice to business owners, and apprentice, not an intern. These are people who might have a certain amount of experience. I thought of this because you said specialists in marketing, but maybe in another country or the continent of Africa, but maybe a country in Africa or other parts of the world, but they're educated folks. They have a lot of experience, but maybe they want experience here in the US, or it's someone who is here in the US or wherever, and they have a certain amount of experience, but they want to move into a different industry. So they will be with you as an apprentice, and the company helps them work with you. I believe it's like 10 or 20 hours a month or something like that. It's a significant amount of time. And then you can eventually, and this person, I mentioned it because she ended up hiring, I think 3 of the people who have worked with her have now created it's a social media company, social media team. So she has one woman in Iran, another woman here in Georgia, another woman somewhere else, but it was all through this company, Acadium. So that might be something that folks want to look into. Again, possibilities. Okay, maybe you don't hire a virtual assistant right now, but maybe you can bring on an apprentice to either work on a certain project with you or whatever that is. And I believe on the site, you set up your profile and say, what you're looking for. And then you get resumes from these individuals, but you get to know that they're vetted through this company. So whether it's them or companies like that, but just think about it in different ways. What's the support I need, as we said, and then how much can I afford in my budget, or what could this look like in another creative way?
Yes. All right. So I want to share just a little bit of my story with our listeners, and it is this, that you can find help in the home, sometimes even less expensive than in the business. And so as you're asking questions and thinking about what's possible, maybe you are the best right person to do the things in your business right now in this moment, whatever stage you're in. But are you exactly the right person that needs to spend all day Saturday running errands, getting your car washed, cleaning your house? And maybe that's where you buy back some time so that you can rest or enjoy time off with your family. Or maybe you're going to put in a few extra hours in the business, whatever you choose to do at that time. You can also ask for support in so many different ways in the home front that will ultimately allow you to show up differently in your business.
Absolutely.
My very first goal in my business was my very, very first goal was to have the profit to bring in a house cleaner twice a month. That's exactly
real.
That is real.
That is real.
I just wanted to fire myself from cleaning my house every Saturday. And I said, okay, babe, if I can make this business go, the first profit that I'm going to reinvest is going to be to hire a house cleaner. Are you in? And he's like, fine. I don't know. He didn't even bother him. But for me, this was huge. It was like, I much rather work 8 hours in my business than 8 hours cleaning the house. So I want to hire it out. And then I just stacked that over time and grew into it. It wasn't overnight that I get the support I have in my home now, which I have quite a bit of support. But I grew into it based on what I like and don't like. That was another thing. For me, it felt so luxury. It felt so I can't even come up with the word, but so luxurious to be able to hire a house cleaner.
Mm-hmm.
And I share this because I was raised cleaning houses. That is how we put food on the table. My mom and I, like that is how I was raised. And so for me, it was a big milestone to be able to have a business, make the money, have the mindset to be able to ask for help and have a house cleaner. And then I used that mindset work and the finances to just step into additionally asking for help over time.
And you think about, what I think that's a great point. Again, it could be in your business, it can be in your personal life. Getting the help in your personal life, as you said, gives you more hours or time to dedicate to your business, which is something you want to do. But this idea, I'm sure we've all heard it before, when you're saying yes to one thing, you're usually saying no to another thing. So if you say yes to cleaning your house 8 hours, every weekend or whenever that is, it's 8 hours that you're likely not doing something else that you would probably enjoy. Now, if you enjoy cleaning your house, great. But as you said, you were able to do that, then to be able to focus on some other things. So I try to help clients who do have that mindset, that block around getting the help because it feels like, grandiose or ostentatious or anything like that, to get some help, to say, okay, but if you do get this help, then what does that allow you to say yes to? And usually it's like more time with your kids or going to soccer practice or whatever it is. Then that helps you be able to say, you know what, I am going to get the support. And in the case with someone helping you in your home or people helping you in your home, you're hiring people. There's a lot of other good things that come out of that. You're helping them and they could have their own business. And it all keeps going, as opposed to let me just keep this all to myself because I have to prove something to no one. No one's watching. We all think people are watching. No one cares.
Right.
It's all in our heads, right? Everybody's trying to figure it out.
And it is in our heads, except for, do you have that come up in your coaching and in the work that you do? Is that women are like, okay, all right, I got this. Thank you for helping me. I'm going to ask for help, but we're not going to talk about it. Like, I'm not going to go to barbecues or with my girlfriends and just talk about all the help I have, because does it feel like they're still doing the work to be okay with it?
I don't know. I haven't had that. Have you had that? I haven't had that I can think of. Maybe that's how I need to ask that question. As far as I know, people haven't sort of hidden it. I think a lot of the women that I've worked with, maybe too, because I'm just like, support is sexy. I'm trying to make a whole big brand thing out of it. So maybe not. But that I could see why people would feel like that if they still have some lingering shame around not being able to do it all alone. Like we said earlier about, you said you should be able to do this or that. I always say we're always shoulding all over ourselves. Mm-hmm. So there might be that, but maybe there might be some of that.
Okay, you're right.
There.
Thank you for putting that back. That was a total loaded question. So I'm going to answer honestly. I have no issues talking about it on the podcast. I have no issues talking about it with my business friends. My issue comes when I go to a barbecue with my friends that I grew up with, or like are in different social economic places just because they don't own a business, or they can't fathom what would it be like to have someone in your home 15 hours a week and you don't do your grocery shopping and you don't do your cooking and you don't clean your house. Like, to me, all I can hear them say is, so what do you do? And so for me, I had to do that work. And ultimately, it was never an issue. So there's the story, is that it was my story I had to work through. But until I did, I just didn't talk about it.
Right. It's a little bit of what do they call it, like survivor's remorse. You quote unquote made it out, or you're successful and you're doing this thing. So you feel guilty that other people aren't in that position, when most of the time they're either happy for you, or the other part of it, they don't care, or the ones who would have any judgment of, and by don't care, I mean, they have, their own things going on.
100%.
Or the ones who would judge, those aren't really your friends. You need to get rid of them anyway. But yes, I totally get it. So we're doing it out of, that kindness in us. We don't want to make anyone else feel bad, as opposed to, you don't know, that might free somebody. They might be like, oh my gosh, you don't buy your own groceries, or you don't do whatever. How did you do that? You never know. So you could end up being of support to someone else.
Yes. And thank you for saying that, because that is exactly what happened. Is they're like, oh, well, what do you do? And I was like, oh, we just do this or this. And they were more curious, and there wasn't any judgment. And I didn't want to bring it up because I didn't want it to be like I wasn't bragging about it. Like, for me, it's just part of how I run my house and my business. Mm-hmm. But for them, they started asking questions. So Oh, you have someone come to the house to clean your car? Can you give me their number? Oh, you have someone that comes to the house that does dog grooming? Can you give me a referral?
Exactly.
Now it was making them think what was possible to where they're like, my Saturday's free now. I'm not running errands to the groomers and the car wash and the groceries and like all of that. And that is definitely a place that if they see you doing it, you're giving them permission to say their time is incredibly valuable too.
That's right. That's right. So by keeping it secret, you might be holding back somebody's blessing.
Yes. This is phenomenal. Okay, great. I'm curious about what type of work you do for your clients. If you want to share with us and the listeners, how do you help your clients with a support?
Absolutely. So one part of the business is my agency called Chic, CHIC Rebellion Media.com. And that business is a content and personal branding agency. So we have clients from a psychotherapist to a former corporate executive to a woman who's a transformation and vision coach. So all different backgrounds to organizations that are looking for content. And what we do is create content for their brands and leverage content really to help them build their brands, whether that's thought leadership, whether that's content on social media, whatever that looks like for these different clients that we work with. So again, whether it's individuals or agencies. Then another part of my business, as we've talked about some, is the one-on-one coaching that I do with folks, usually for a 6-month period. And it's people who are looking to build whether it's their thought leadership or not so much focused on the content, it's more about their brand and their company. And most of my clients are women who are in that phase where they've worked in that certain industry for a certain number of years. Maybe it's like 20 years or so, 15 years. So usually in the 30s or 40s, maybe even 50s. And they're making that transition to their next chapter, whether that's retiring or just wanting to do something else. And they want entrepreneurship to be a part of that next chapter. So that's something that I did personally. And I kind of feel like I attract those kinds of women who are trying to figure out what else could I do, or what else could I do on the side, or I've done this and I'm about to, I have a friend who's going to retire at 47 or so. So retirement doesn't mean you're in your 70s anymore, right? If you started very early. So I work with a lot of those women who have done something for a certain amount of time and they're making that transition. And they just need some support on what are the kind of everything from the tools for honestly, productivity and efficiency, whether that's social media or anything else like that, to the mindset things of you can do this and it doesn't have to be perfect and all the other things that we talked about. And you need a team, you need support, and all those things are part of the process with that. So those are the two primary areas of my business. And then coming out later this year, May 11th, is my first book.
Yay! Congratulations.
Yay. Thank you. Thank you so much. So that's called Get Over I Got It, which we talked about, this whole idea of getting over I got it syndrome. So those are the primary parts of my business. I'm just really passionate about supporting women, especially ambitious women. You're doing your thing in whatever way that looks like for you, to know that you deserve support. You deserve to have your story out in the world. You deserve to have your business out in the world. You deserve.
Absolutely. That's a great place to end on those words. Thank you so much for being here. And if they want to get a hold of you, can you just give us where to find you and how they can reach out to you?
Yes, you can go to actually getoverigotit.com. getoverigotit.com. You can find out more about the book there, but you can also sign up for my email list. If you want to tell me that you heard me on Amber's podcast, please let me know, and I will send you a free guide that I have on defining your all, as we talked about earlier. So usually people have to buy the book and send the receipt, and then I'll send you the guide. You tell me you to say Amber. I heard you on Amber. So let me go ahead and send me the guide. It's an 11-page guide. It's just asking you some questions to walk through, just defining your all for yourself. What does that look like for you? So getoverigotit.com.
Oh, thank you so much for that kind gift. And then also you have a podcast. So those of you listening, if you're looking for more support around Support is Sexy, she has a podcast as well.
Absolutely.
Elayne, thank you so much for being here. And what a great conversation to really pour into the listeners and empower them to own what we know they deserve, which is asking for support.
My pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Well, I told you I was getting personal in this episode. And the reason that I got so personal was because I know I'm not alone. And if my message of what I've had to go through to overcome mindsets and beliefs that were not serving me or my business, I hope it inspires you to ask yourself, what is it that you believe? What mindsets do you have around asking for help that could be holding you back? I believe so heavily in the fact that asking for help is such a key to our overall productivity and success that leveraging people is an entire pillar in my Stop Leverage formula. And I teach and coach my clients inside Leverage Lab and my one-on-one clients all about how to leverage their success through people. If you'd like to find out more about my Leverage Lab program or working with me one-on-one, you can head on over to amberdelagarza.com/work-with-me. I have truly enjoyed you tuning in to this week's episode of Productivity Straight Talk, and I sure hope you found our conversation to be valuable and inspiring you to take action. No change, no change. Without taking action, nothing will change for you or your business. So, based on my conversation today about support with Elayne, what will you take action on? How can you ask yourself, where am I stuck? Where am I sabotaging my success because I don't have a dream team, or I don't have support from peers, or I don't have the support of people in your home? I don't know where you need support, but my guess is you made it this long and this far through this episode because you know you need more support. So before this episode closes out, I would love for you to just take a moment and get really, really clear about what is the next step you can take. Where can you ask for help? Where can you ask for additional support so you don't feel like you're doing this business journey on your own? So that's my straight talk for you today. Until next time, have a productive week.